I'm back in Karachi and it's actually really warm here. I'm just out here in a t-shirt and last night in my room I was using the fan. In the cars here people are still using air conditioners. You'd never think it's actually winter, but that's what the weather's like here. Anyway, I've been giving some talks here at the universities and the Karachi crowd is very different. It's very different. It's like a complete different culture to the rest of Pakistan. Anyway, in between obviously giving the talks and meetings and other stuff, there's obviously a lot of time to kill. So I decided to just go off to and find like a gym, and I found a really nice local gym. And while I was there, it really hit upon me the idea of nihilism again, but this time from a perspective of bodybuilding, because in the gym they had pictures of really humongous guys, right? Like just huge, like freakishly big, not like functionally big, right? So like there was this guy who literally his thighs were like the size of a tree trunk. He was just with veins popping out everywhere. It was just crazy. The sort of pictures that you get to see at the gym. So I was just thinking, why would these guys become so big? Why would they put themselves through so much pain and these strict diets, and why would they do that? Why would they invest so much time, energy, and thought and focus on something that is good to be in shape, but that big doesn't really make any sense. So from a evolutionary perspective, you could sort of explain it as a type of sexual selection, the male beautifying themselves so that the choosy females can actually select them, and therefore they go off and on this sort of evolutionary trajectory of decorating themselves with more and more muscles. You can give that sort of evolutionary explanation, I guess. But I was thinking of it from another perspective. I was thinking of it from the perspective of escapism and nihilism and development. Now, one of the human needs is the need to grow, the need to develop, right? And this is why video games are so addictive. Video games, you do something in a video game, they give you a new star, a new rank, a new whatever, add-on. And you feel like you're growing, which is why video games are so addictive. You go up in levels, you go up in ranks and whatnot. And it's the same with any other habit that gives us that type of dopamine trigger, that it's like, oh, okay, I'm growing. And these guys in the gym, they're like growing. But that type of need of development, that's eventually going to wither away. And Allah in the Quran, He gives the example of plants. Now, I have some very lovely plants here behind me. And, the thing about plants is that Allah says about plants that, you have a plant that grows and it looks really beautiful and, it's at its zenith, and then it slowly becomes old and withers away and becomes dust. And Allah gives that as an example for our lives. That our lives, we in the beginning, we're just like a bud, we're like insignificant little infant, then we grow into a human being, and we have pride and arrogance and a business, and we wear flashy clothes, and then we slowly become old with grey hair and then just wither away in an old folks home and die. So that's kind of like our life. And these guys who are like humongous, right, they want to win awards, they want appreciation for developing their bodies. But what does it all mean after 1,000,000 years? After 1,000,000 years, those bodybuilders and all of the pictures that they put of themselves online, and the awards they won, and the fans they have, and the strict diets they were on, and the personal problems they may have had, and all of these things are just meaningless. After 1,000,000 years, it's all meaningless. So why are they literally risking their lives to get to the top? I mean, I was speaking to the gym owner. He is a former champion. He's won many awards. Now his type of physique was very functional, so that was a good type of physique. But he was talking to me about other people who just try too hard, and they take steroids, and they take I don't know the actual name, but this type of tranquilizers that you give to animals, right, to become big. And then he was giving me examples of people that have died because of the use of these types of drugs. And I was just like, is it worth it? Is it worth it that you're killing yourself over something which is so superfluous, something which is so meaningless, right? Just in the eyes of people, you're just trying to, some people have made it into a lifestyle. They literally live in the gym. Imagine somebody who they're sitting at a table and they draw a circle, and on top of the circle, the exact same circle, they draw another circle. So it just looks like one circle and it's actually two. And then they do it again and again and again and again. For 50, 60, 100 years, they just dedicate their life to drawing a circle and drawing another one and drawing another one, drawing another one. That would be meaningless. There would be no meaning to that. Well, how different is bodybuilding to an extreme where you're appreciated by people when your thoughts, your feelings, your problems, their admiration of you, all of this would be gone in a million years from now. It'd be absolutely gone. It'd be finished. So this type of escapism that human beings indulge in, whether it's bodybuilding or something else, without God, without the idea that there is a next life, that, this is why Nietzsche believed that without the true world theory, without the idea that there is another world beyond this world, which is the perfect world, and this is like the inferior world, nihilism is one of those things that's very hard to confront. Because how do you deal with the idea that all of this in a billion years is gone, is meaningless, it has no intrinsic value, there's no intrinsic worth? So, whether you're a bodybuilder, whether you're someone drawing a circle indefinitely, or whether you're even somebody who thinks they're doing something meaningful, they're working for some goal, some ambition, without the true world, without the next world being real, everything that you're doing is absolutely meaningless. And this really hit me because, and I've been saying this recently, that nihilism, although I've been debating atheists for years now, this is the most powerful argument against them. So usually the way the arguments go is, do you believe in God? No, I don't believe in God. Okay, let's have a debate. Cosmological, contingency. I don't agree with this. This argument has this presupposition which is false. That's all rubbish, right? Let's just get down to business. So you want me to be an atheist, and you are clearly trying to propagate that idea. Fine. What do you want from me? What's the purpose of life? What's the meaning of it all? What's the value of life? They don't have an answer. They literally do not have an answer. I want to be an activist. I want to be a social justice worker. I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay. What's the meaning of this all? Atheism leads to a true atheist would be a nihilist. Would not just be a nihilist in terms of moral nihilism, in terms of there is no morality. They'd be an existential nihilist. They'd just be like, life is pointless and meaningless. This whole idea of let's create our own meaning. Let's just create our own meaning. I probably should be doing a separate video on this, but it's just, is it even worth entertaining that? Just create your own meaning. There's a million ways you can tackle that, but are the people who say that really, do they actually mean it? Maybe perhaps, it's just impossible to be a true nihilist. I was recently listening to an American philosopher criticizing Albert Camus. And what he was saying is that although Camus was somebody who's a nihilist. He was involved in the French resistance against the Nazis. But then this philosopher was saying, well, he's not being consistent with his nihilism, because him joining the French Revolution against Nazis, so, fighting for liberalism against Nazism, fascism, is still meaningless. Might as well just draw circles upon circles upon circles upon circles, because if the world is pointless and meaningless and has no value, then anything you do in the world, any rearrangement of matter you manage to create in this very short life of yours of 50, 60, 100 years, in a billion years from now would be meaningless. And it was just the way you entered the world and the way you left the world, even though all your life you've worked for certain goals, the world it started off as meaningless and pointless and without value, and in the end of your life is still meaningless, pointless and without value. So that philosopher was saying that, look, Albert Camus wasn't really consistent in his nihilism. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. This has actually become my favorite topic to speak about now. And it's really dark. You can sometimes get a bit, start to feel a bit down. But alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, we have faith, so we have an escape. But you feel down because you start thinking, oh my God, how can people live? How can people live without faith? How can people live without God? How can people live without ultimate hope, value, morality? How can you do that? I mean, even the atheists on this channel who love to argue, if I asked them, why are you arguing? Oh, we're trying to get to the truth. Okay, we're trying to get to the truth. But if life is pointless and meaningless, who cares if you follow truth or falsehood? Why does it matter? So this is the ultimate weapon against atheism. And I'd like to hear from atheists. And just be honest. Do you recognize this problem? Do you recognize how dangerous this is? Do you recognize how pointless it is to actually promote atheism if nihilism and atheism are correlated, which they are? Then why do you continue to act as if nihilism doesn't exist? Why are you in denial? At least me as a Muslim, I'm consistent. So what do I believe? I believe in the Quran and I believe in what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said. And that's my worldview. But when it comes to you guys are not willing to accept that nihilism is the logical conclusion from an atheistic perspective, from a scientism perspective. And just be consistent. That's all I'm asking. Just be consistent. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And and I am going to go through the comment section, even though I don't always reply to every message.